Voice of a Young Person 001, and today we are having an interesting topic with an amazing person whom they'll introduce themselves. Microphones to you.
Hi, good people. My name is Pesh. I am a sexual reproductive health advocate, and right now I am sitting at the board of Right Here, Right Now, which is a program of 15 civil organizations that was founded in 2016 with an aim of ensuring that young people get to enjoy their sexual reproductive health rights in a gender-just society. And also currently we have a three-month project under Right Here, Right Now, called Tubonge na Art, where, as the name suggests, Tubonge na Art, we get to talk through art, and we talk to and with young people on their rights, particularly sexual reproductive health rights.
Wow, amazing. Just like you've had good people out there. Yeah, this is an amazing person, a powerhouse. Now, we've been getting a lot of questions around Taani, what is SRHR, what is SRHR? So I want to ask you this question today. What is SRHR in full, and what does it mean?
Well, thank you for the good question. Problem with us organizations, NGOs and civil society organizations is that we like abbreviations a lot, and we assume that people out there, they are going to understand when we say SRHR, then automatically they know what that means. But now we are here to explain those abbreviations, and particularly SRHR. So SRHR is an abbreviation for sexual reproductive health and rights. And these are rights that ensure that us as young people and every other person gets to enjoy their sexual health, reproductive health, and rights around them.
Okay, yeah. Amazing. Now, what rights exist regarding sexual and reproductive health in Kenya?
Well, the rights that exist, number one, we have, when you say right, people think of the rights in the Constitution, right to life, but then there are rights that we are going to talk about. We have right to choose when to get married and the number of children you want. Yes. We also have the right to say no, that is majorly consent, and to say yes whenever you want, and also the right to own our body, which is basically body autonomy, to decide what you want to do with your body and when you want to do what you want to do. And also in the Constitution, we have now the major, where the SRHR is now mentioned. In Article 43, it says that everyone has a right to the highest attainable standard of health, including sexual reproductive health and rights. Yeah.
Wow, this is getting interesting because too much information. Not all people knows where these rights are in the Constitution, but going on forward, we'll get to know them. Now my question is, are there any differences between rights of young adolescent girls and women and men? Are there any differences?
I would say no, there is no differences, because our Kenyan Constitution is very straight to the point and very articulate, and it says everyone has a right to. So there is no young people, there is no men, there is no women, it's everyone. So it applies to everyone. So there is no particular right to a particular person, and there is no difference between one's rights and the other person's rights.
Now, the info is out there, and so guys, you don't have to when they talk about these rights, you don't have to say like they only prioritize women. So the rights are there for everyone. Now my next question is, what are some key topics within sexual and reproductive health? The key topics.
Well, the key topics, I think
Maybe the components.
I think I might have mentioned one before when I was talking, which is consent. That is number one key topic. We have family planning. Yes, that is where we get to talk to individuals who are engaging in sexual encounters to embrace family planning. And we have legal and safe abortion. Yes, which is still a major struggle considering what's going on in Kenya and the constitution. It sometimes limits where this abortion, to what extent can abortion happen. But then you get that is infringing on people's right because it is their rights. And also we have menstruation health and menstruation, and we also have
contraception,
contraception and
you talked about it. So my next question is, are there any stigmas around these topics? Now, like you've talked about abortion,
there are stigma.
Contraceptions.
Stigma is there, and that is why we as young people, we come up with these projects, and that is why mainly the Right Now program was thought-wise to be implemented in Kenya. By the way, it's being implemented in 3 counties, which is Kisumu, Nairobi, and Mombasa. And so the stigmas, particularly around the SRHR, people still believe that, and we have challenges that come with it, like from outside. We have religious beliefs, cultural beliefs from other people that they some religious people and some religion, they believe that the Bible says go ye forth and multiply. So when you come and tell them you should embrace family planning, if you get pregnant and you feel that you are not in a position to keep the fetus or to carry the pregnancy to terms, it is your right to have an abortion. When you tell that to a religious person, they would be like, no, but the Bible says. So those are the challenges that we have. And so talking about stigma and around abortion, abortion is something that when we were growing up, it was something that was a taboo. Like, how dare you get an abortion, So when people even fear talking about abortion, they'd rather have perform the abortion and then they hide it, and that leads to other young people resorting to very unsafe ways of procuring an abortion. Some get over-the-counter drugs. Some even go to an extent of getting the hangers and inserting them down inside the vagina to make sure that the fetus comes out. And you see, that is risking their lives. And I think that is the problem, because when someone dies of unsafe abortion, they say that abortion kills people. But again, when you come to think of it, abortion doesn't kill people. It is unsafe abortion that kills people. So that is why we are here as Tubongena Arts, to ensure that we talk about these things and we encourage people to stop stigmatizing people for choosing to embrace their rights.
Amazing. So now, what do you think needs to change for the people in the community to start opening up and coming openly to talk about these topics and sexual and reproductive health? Like, what do you think needs to change?
Well, I think a lot needs to change, but then we cannot change the lots at once, and that is why, as right now, it says the tagline is something needs to change right now. You see, so there is something that needs to change. There are lots, but then we cannot change the lots at once. We have to go one by one. So number one, I would say we should have these community dialogues, get to talk to people. These people, by the way, when they stigmatize people, some of them do it without knowing, subconsciously, because that is how they grew up. That is what the environment around them taught them. that is what is supposed to be there. Yeah, so we should get to meet them from where they are and get to listen to them, and from there we can know what conversations we want to have with them, and then tell them it is not this way, it is this way, and then from there we can progress and progress.
Awesome. Okay, can sexual and reproductive health problems seriously affect our overall health?
Well, the answer is yes, because the World Health Organization definitions of sexual reproductive health is the complete state of a person, physical, mental, psychological, sexual. Yes, because the World Health Organization's definition of sexual reproductive health is a complete state of physical, mental, psychological, and social well-being of a person. And it doesn't necessarily mean the absence of a disease. So you get, when your sexual reproductive health is at stake, everything health-wise around you, your social life, your mental health, your everything. So yes, sexual reproductive health can affect the way can affect a person's life in general, like everything.
Okay, let's talk about menstruation. Now there's a girl out there menstruating and they don't have these sanitary pads. Yeah, they can be mentally disturbed because physically, socially, because they won't be able to maybe go to school. Is that what you mean?
Yes, and speaking of that, there are a lot of things that come with menstruation. You know, when as a woman, as a person who menstruates, you get that the hormonal changes in your body when you leave the part of, you know, getting sanitary towels. There are a lot of things. You are cramping, and sometimes the cramps are very much painful, and we have normalized cramps that even when we feel like we should be seeing a doctor, you hear someone saying, just go take painkillers, ni cramps to Taisha. But then you see this girl is, the hormones are all over, emotions are all over, and then she's cramping. Alafu hiyo point ya she doesn't have the sanitary towels. This person will not even go to school, because how are you going to go to school when you cannot even sit well, you cannot even, you feel like your world is crashing. So
thank you for that. Are there any steps that men can take to care for their sexual and reproductive health?
Well, there are, and I would talk in general. It is not just there, but then it is everyone's, and particularly to men who are like in a relationship. But then these are conversations that we do not have with men. When I say we, I mean the society. Yes, and men grew up knowing, and right now they still know that family planning is for women, that the ones who give birth, not knowing. But there was a research that was done, and it was said that if a man sleeps with women every week, he can get the women pregnant, like 42 women pregnant. That is 42 children when they are given birth to. But then a woman can only give birth once in a year.
It's true.
So personally, this is a very personal opinion. I feel that this family planning should be stressed more on men.
They should give us
yes. So on to the main question. Men there is vasectomy for men, where you get to, the urethra, that tube that connects it is sectrum. The scrotum. Yes, well, now sperms gets up, to go and fertilize the egg. So it is like inafungwa.
Okay.
Yeah, so they do. People say that vasectomy.
They don't cut it.
No, they funga it.
Okay.
Yeah. So people say that vasectomy is irreversible, and when you go for vasectomy, you are never going to give birth.
Yeah.
No, that is wrong. That is wrong.
Right.
Yeah, vasectomy is it can be reversed.
Okay.
When you go for vasectomy, and then you feel like now you are ready to have children, you can go and reverse the process, though it is expensive. Yes, and also men, they can support their partners through family planning. And when I say support, I do not mean, when you go to the hospital as a woman or as a person assigned female at birth, you are asked, the caregivers, they'll ask you, do you have a partner? And do they know that you are here for family planning? And they sometimes even send you back home to go get your husband. Yo, what do you mean, bro? This is my body. So that is why we also talk about body autonomy, because this is me. I am the one owning the uterus, and I should be able to make the choices and decisions around my uterus without getting the consent of another person who doesn't even have a uterus and they do not know even how it works. So when I say support, I do not mean you now sit your wife down and start telling her, I want children and you are playing with me and
you are assigned to give birth. You are assigned to give birth.
Na nimepeleka ng'ombe kwenu. What do you mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've learned. Yeah, I've learned. So what's your opinion on sex education?
My opinion on sex education. First of all, I feel that if I had known what I know right now when I was like a teenager, and that is around 9, 10, teenage adolescence begins at 9, right? 9, yeah. So if I had known those information, I would be a very empowered little kid. And that is why I feel that sex education should be given not only to adults but also to age-appropriate children. That is adolescent 9 and above, because people grow up, these children, they grow up, and even the society, they imagine our parents, they could not even tell us that our vagina is our vagina. They would say do don't touch your sweet coco. Now what is coco? And
you grow up now, that is coco.
And you find that by then these are things that happen, and that is why some cases of defilement in court, they delay, because you go to court and then the survivor is there, the child, and then the judge asks the child, what happened? And then the kid says, alichukua dudu yake akaingiza kwa dudu yangu. So the judge is like, dudu yangu, dudu yake. What is the child saying? So when that happens, it is hard to decide on the case, because dudu can be anything. Yes, and
an insect.
And so when we tell these children, this is a penis, this is a vagina, they would know this man took his penis and put it inside my vagina. Yes, so I feel sex education is something that should be talked about anywhere, anytime. Yes, the information needs to be out there. Plus, the generation is, we are evolving. So these children, they need to know what sex education is. Yeah, because some of them, they just meet the changes are happening in their bodies, but then again they do not know, and they are not open to talking to their parents, because African parents, they do not listen.
Yeah, they don't.
So they just end up engaging in very unsafe sex, when there are ways of them exploring their teenagehood and everything in a safe way that is safer for them and for everyone around them.
Okay, awesome. This is great. I hope you guys are enjoying, and you're getting to learn. You are learning and learning. the things you had in your mind and your perceptions. Yes. Now, other than school, where or how do young women and men currently learn about their bodies and their sexual reproductive health?
Well, I would say it is not much in schools per se, but at least they're trying right now. But it is something we are still struggling with because the teachers feel like the kids, that still children, they should not get to know this information, which is very wrong. It is infringing in their right to information. And that is why I really appreciate what technology is doing, because right now we have ChatGPT, we have Google, we have like the information is there on the internet. So when people who can access internet, they go there, they Google these things and they learn from the internet and they get to understand what exactly is going on. And to people who cannot access the internet, that is why we as Tubongena Art, as the project under Right Here, Right Now, we come up with these programs and projects, like I said, so that we get to meet people where they are and talk to them and make them learn and make them know, because right to information is their right, and it is a human right and a human being. And also, like what we are doing right now, podcasts, people will get to listen to this information out there, and then when they listen, and for example, teenagers, when they're out there, they'll be like, I had this information from podcast and nini, and they get there and they talk about them and they learn and unlearn those things that that were uprooted. No, not uprooted. They rooted in their minds. Yes. So we get to remove them from their minds.
Oh, awesome, great. Now the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Consent. What is consent? When people hear the word consent, maybe they don't get it.
So consent is something that personally I learned when I was this grown up. It is something I didn't know while growing up, thanks to society and the environment we grew up in. So when we talk about consent, this is the voluntary agreement between two parties, and in the context of relationship, this is where, like, now the consent has to be, you two agree, and then it has to be enthusiastic, and you have to be specific about it. And so consent, it is, like, I would say, sort of a right of someone to, when you say consent. And also, something that we forget, people assume that when I give you consent, for instance, you ask me, can I hug you? And then I say yes. And then the following day, or the next time we meet, you just hug me without even asking. That is wrong, because consent is ongoing. It is ongoing. It is not a one-time thing. So if you ask me today if you can hug me, then the next time we meet, you ask me again, because I might not in the mood to want to be hugged, and you just jumping all over my body. So yes, and that also applies to relationship, which is a very massive topic because this is where we go wrong. This is where we go wrong, and particularly to people who are married, to the millennials, the generation that grew up in that society, and also us, we grew up in that society. But at least we are trying to, to dismantle the norms and the stereotypes. So you get that a woman is married to a man, and then the man, wants to have sex, and then they come, and then they're like, I want to have sex, and the woman is like, no, I am not in the mood to have sex with you. And then the man will be like, what do you mean you're not in the mood? I mean, I married you, my wife. Nilipeleka ngombe kwenu. What do you mean? So, that is infringing on their consent, because what do you mean I'm your? And so if you took ngombe kwetu, so I'm supposed to be having sex with you every time, even when I'm not in the mood. So that is where people go wrong, because they assume that when you marry someone or when you are in a relationship with someone, then automatically you have their consent, you can do anything you want with them. And that is not the thing when it comes to consent. You have to ask. Can I hug you? You have to ask. Can I have sex with you? And like I said, consent is ongoing, and it applies even during sexual intercourse. So when you're with your partner, you're having sex, and then in the middle of the action, they feel like, nah, this is not, I'm not feeling this, or I just do not want to continue with this.
Okay.
They have a right to say, no, please stop right there, and they have to stop right there, because if they continue, that is rape. Yeah. And
about that.
Okay.
About that. So I wanted to ask if in the middle of the sexual thing, intercourse, you've stopped your partner and they decide, no, they're not stopping. Do you have the right to report that you've been raped when initially you had consented and now the consent was revoked, but they still go on doing that?
I'm so glad you asked me that question, because most people assume that people who are married cannot rape each other. Like, what do you mean your husband raped you? Your wife raped you, you see. You know, when you're in the process of having sex, and then me as your partner, I feel I do not want to continue the act, and I tell you, no, please stop. And then you decide to continue. You have breached my consent, and you, in that particular time, you are raping me. So I have a right to go and report you that you have raped me.
Wow.
I gave you my consent at first, and I withdrew the consent, and you decided to continue with the act. So yeah, you can go and report. Though our justice system, the authorities, they're still, you know, the society that we are talking about is still in their mind. And when you go and report that my husband raped me, they're like, what do you mean? Yeah. But your husbands and wives, bro. So yeah, it is something that we are still working on, so that they can get to understand that when a consent is breached during sexual intercourse, that is rape.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And just to ask, consent cannot be given by who particularly?
Well, consent, like we said, everyone can give consent, but now there are people who cannot give consent.
Yeah.
For example, a child. And in this particular scenario, a child is someone from the age of 19. I know the constitution says 18, but you can be 18 and you do not have an ID. You still have a waiting card. A waiting card is not an ID.
Yeah, sure.
So if you get to have a sexual intercourse with a 19-year-old who doesn't have an ID,
yeah.
and then they report you, that is defilement.
Yeah.
Yes. So I said a child cannot consent. And also a person who's under the influence of drugs cannot consent. Because when you're under the influence, you are not, and then because if I am not, then that is coercion. You can tell me that I have bought you food, I've taken you to the best restaurant in Kisumu, and now you have to go with me to my house and have sex with me. That is not an enthusiastic consent. If I tell you yes, I will not have, that consent will not be enthusiastic, because I have to be happy about it. And bubbly. Yeah.
Well, that was amazing. I think we have come to the end of our talk, and just like we had listened to Pesh, they said there's this program to Bongena Art, and the other time it was held, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Our very first project was held. Like I said, it is a 3-month project. So we started in March, and another one will be on April, and the other one will be on May. In May, Okay, so our very first project was basically on consent, where we, got to gather a lot of young people and get them to sit down, and we talked to them about consent. And it was very surprising, because most of them, or some of them, were hearing the word consent for the very first time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. And it's to Bongen art. They're how do we say this? Wanna pass information through art,
Yes,
through music, through poetry, through anything revolving around art. So be sure to attend this one, and we will be doing mobilization, and we will consider you. It's open to everyone, and it's free, right?
Yeah, it's free. You get to come, have fun, art getting into your brain and food getting into your belly.
Yeah.
And you get to meet very, very awesome individuals where you can, create your data, because you never know. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. We have come to the end of our session, and that was amazing. I hope you've learned, and stay tuned for the next hot topic.